100 cases of people who wandered into the wilderness but never came back. Accounts of children, people
was a coyote,
vanishing,
dog, or
seemingly
else.
swallowed up by the many endless forests across America, or even later found in ways that defy logic.
An animal.
Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man.
She described the way that
like a
the
man. I don't
creature
know what it was.
moved as being
Okay. You've
unnatural.
had problems in the neighborhood
It looked
before?
like it was
Yeah, my dog was
uncomfortable
killed here
in its
just
own
recently.
feet.
I don't know what it was. So whatever it was that was standing out there. I'm out here
It
looking
looked
through the
like
window
a
now. I
vehicle.
don't see anything.
She
I don't want to go
believed
outside.
that what she was looking at was
Jesus Christ,
pure
you better...
evil.
Sure.
See ya.
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9".
Do you see him
The
now,
cases of
sir?
about
Yes, I'm looking
100
right
people,
at him.
at least, who claim that they've been abducted
Okay, hang
by
on.
aliens.
He's
One
right.
of Dr.
Is
Matt's
he in your
patients,
yard,
Linda,
sir?
Yeah,
who
he's
says
gone.
she
He's
has been
big.
Faded out,
abducted
like
since childhood.
reality. I was just
what I remember
being brought up this
my
tunnel of
wall
light,
came
right?
from being
Out
around my
of
bed.
this tunnel light,
I
just
ran between
like
them
noticed
and ran
parts
out
of my
of the
life
room
that
into
wouldn't
my
even
mother's
occur to me to
room to
remember.
hide
Then I
from
knew
it.
that I
And
wasn't
I
in
never
my
told
body,
anybody
that I
about
was
that, and I just buried it in the
And
back
so
of my
then I
mind.
came to the
Me
end
and
of
my
this
brother, we
tunnel
never
and noticed there
spoke about
was
it.
a man that first
I
struck me
noticed
at first as
a
a poison.
mist or a fog
And I
kind
also
of
saw
moving.
relatives that had
The
died
action, the
that
motion
year.
caught my
Then
eye. It
the
actually
wizard,
started
without
taking
moving his
shape,
mouth,
taking
spoke to me and
form.
said,
The
"Struggle,
idea
you're
of the
too young
Grim
to
Reaper
die."
went through my head, cloaked figure. And as I was watching, it kept becoming more and more and more distinct to me that this was actually something with some type of presence. Like it knew I was there. And as I was watching it, it turned and looked directly at me. I felt like whatever this was angry at me. I wasn't welcome. It wanted me out. I had been face to face with a ghost or a demon, a spirit. I'm not really sure what. But this feeling of terror actually was going through me. And I really felt more that it was demonic. It was something very evil.
Hey everybody, welcome to Real Supernatural Encounters. For my guest today, I have Ember, and she's going to be telling a few of her supernatural and paranormal experiences. But before we get to that, Ember, could you give a brief bio about yourself?
Well, my name is Ember. I'm 20. I currently identify as Wiccan, so I'm super into supernatural stuff. I don't know, there's not a ton to know about me. I'm working, I don't go to school. Yeah, I've had a bunch of supernatural stuff happen. Like from when I was a little kid. So I'm super interested in all of that. And my favorite color is purple.
All right. Well, I guess if you're ready, you want to go ahead and start with your first experience and just tell them in order.
Sure. We'll go with cemetery shenanigans.
Yeah.
I was about 11, I would say, and my mom had a boyfriend who was Wiccan, and that's kind of what started me into that stuff. And for whatever reason, they wanted to take a trip to this cemetery that that was around where we were living at the time. And we get there, and my mom's boyfriend leads us to this one grave. And for like 10 minutes, he ends up like laying on it, like in the shape of a cross. Hold on, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm so sorry. I live at home.
You're fine.
But we went, and he ends up laying on the grave for like 10 minutes in a cross shape. And he gets up, and all of a sudden, the wind chimes around the graveyard just start like going off, and it is dead. There's no wind. And So my mom turns around and she goes, I think that we should leave. And, he's like, yeah, we should probably go. And as we're leaving, the wind chimes are absolutely going crazy, just like going so hard that they're hitting the branches that they're hanging from. And we went around this corner, and all of a sudden there were like really loud, heavy, like running footsteps that are running past us. And I saw this guy, and he was in like neon running gear, like bright orange running gear that you would wear if you were running at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I see him running, and then he turns a corner, and by the time we turned the corner, he was gone. So we leave the cemetery, and that's kind of the end of it. We don't really talk about it. But like last year, I was telling my mom about my experience being there, and she said that nobody else saw him. And you could not have missed him. Super weird. And I think that's part of the reason I didn't think very much of it at the time, is because I saw him. But like, if nobody else saw him, that's, can't explain that one.
Then you said something about a story about the man on the side of the road.
Yes, that was recently. That was maybe a month ago. Me and my fiance were driving home from work, and we live in a trailer park that's out away from the town. So it's like on the highway, and then you turn onto this dirt road, and that's where we live. And I saw this guy walking on the road, and I saw him super vividly. Like I could clearly see him. He was in, a white shirt and torn up jeans. And the thing that I noticed like immediately was that he wasn't wearing shoes. So I pointed out to my partner, I was like, hey, that guy isn't wearing shoes. And she just goes, what guy? And I was like, what? She goes, there isn't a guy there. And she like looked in her rear view mirror, and on the side of the road, she turned around to see, and she didn't see him at all. And then I saw him about a week later. He was standing on the intersection of the highway and our road. And he was just standing there, and then this truck pulled up and then turned the corner, and he was gone. That's one of the ones that I really can't explain. Like, and why did I see him twice is my question. Like, does that have significant meaning that I saw him twice? I don't know. It's very freaky.
All right. Then you talked about Little Bighorn Battlefield.
Little Bighorn Battlefield is a battlefield out here in Montana. It's, I think it was Custer, but don't quote me on that. But it was one of the battles of Custer. And it's this historical spot out in the middle of nowhere. It's a battlefield. And when I was 14, I would say, we went as a school trip to go to that battlefield. And when we got there, the feeling there is just so heavy. And like, if you are paying attention, like you can hear footsteps out in the battlefield and nobody's there. And a couple of times I think I heard somebody screaming. And like every time I go there, it's just this whole experience. It's not just a historical point. It's like drenched in this like oppressive energy. Like you just feel so sad and so mournful. It's an experience to go there. It really is.
All right. Then you talked about your Nana's attic.
Yeah. So when I was 16, 17, we lived in my Nana's house in Atlantic City, New Jersey, until she died there. And the whole time that we were there, I was sleeping in the back bedroom upstairs. And right above where that back bedroom is, there's an attic. And the entire time that I was living back there, it was bad. Like there was just such heavy, bad energy, like all the time. Like I wouldn't get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to go to the bathroom or to get a drink of water because I was like genuinely scared of the energy that was in the attic. Like one time we had some handyman over to fix something, and the entire time he was there, you could tell that whatever was living in the attic didn't like that he was there. Like there were like sharp knocking sounds coming from the attic, and like somebody was walking up there, like really heavy footsteps. And like the guy obviously heard all of this because he went up to check what was going on up there to see if there was like a raccoon or something. And when he came down out of the attic, he was like, there's nothing up there. And he left like really quickly. Like he did not want to be in the house anymore. And he didn't ever come back. Like we called like the same company like 4 or 5 other times to come fix stuff, and he never came back. And there were a couple of times that I saw something like on the other side of my curtain. I had this like sort of transparent like gray curtain covering the doorway, and a couple of times I would look up from my phone or from the TV or something, and there would just be this tall figure standing on the other side of the curtain. And there's nobody tall in my family. Everybody is under 5'5". So couldn't have been any of them. Oh, it was living in that house was really hard. It was a rough time. There were like random knocking. Sometimes my bed would shake for no reason. It was just bad vibes all around.
Okay. All right. And then your last one is To Moon Park.
So Two Moon Park was last Halloween. We went to this park. It was closed, but we went anyways because I wanted to do it's sort of like a giving thanks to your spirit guides ceremony. And I wanted to do that out in nature, but you know, everything's closed and I don't want to hike through the woods at 10 o'clock at night. So we went to Two Moon Park, and like the whole time that we're walking to this clearing, you know, we're hearing footsteps around us. We're seeing things like shadows through the tree branches that are all of a sudden gone. And we got to this big clearing, and me and my fiance both saw, like, not saw, but like had mental visions of a man hanging in the tree next to us. And the rest of the night was like cast under that light of, oh my gosh, I just saw something hanging in a tree. And we spent probably 45 minutes there doing this ceremony and trying to reach out to our spirit guides. And the whole time we're hearing like huge, like, I would say it sounded like a bear was walking in the brush beside us. But like it's just outside of town. So there's not a bear in those woods. But it sounded like a bear was bounding around back there. It was just like huge, loud footsteps that were so unsettling. And my cousin didn't believe any of it until we got to the car. And he realized that he was missing his deck of cards that he had left in the car. Like, he was playing with them in the car and he left them in the car so he wouldn't lose them, but they weren't in the car when we got there. And, you know, the car hadn't been tampered with. There were no broken windows. All the windows were rolled up. The car was locked. It's 11 o'clock at night. Nobody's out there. And he's like, well, where did they go? So we're walking around trying to find them. And he's like, I'm just going to go back and look. And he came back out of the woods with his cards. He was like, I must have taken them with me. And I'm like, no, because I know that you left them in the car. I watched you put them in the center console to leave them in the car. That was crazy.
All right. Now I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
All right. For the first one, what can you give like more of a description of what the man in orange looked like?
He had like really short brown hair, not quite a buzz cut, but along those lines. He was super pale. I didn't see his face. But he was wearing like, I don't know how to describe them, just like bright neon running shoes. He had this what's it called? He had a fanny pack that was blue. What else about him? That's about all I can remember. I didn't see him for very long.
Who do you think he was?
I don't know. It's not like we were walking around looking at all of the headstones. We were trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He didn't feel bad. He just kind of felt like he was taking a jog. It felt like he wasn't paying attention to us. Like he almost didn't know that we were there. So I don't know who he was. Probably just some guy.
What time was it when you seen him?
Nighttime, I would say around 10 or 11.
Okay. All right. Now, this is pertaining to the man on the side of the road. What did he look like?
He had like chin length, really messy hair. It was kind of all over the place. And he had a sort of long, scruffy beard. And his face looked like it was like smeared with like dirt. And he had this like it was like bright white t-shirt. Like I could see it very vividly, but it also looked like it was dirty. And then he had like ripped up, dirty denim jeans. And again, he wasn't wearing any shoes.
Okay.
Super weird that he wasn't wearing shoes. That's what sticks with me the most, I think.
And to your friend that was driving, they couldn't even see him.
No, she
Wow.
didn't see him.
What do you think this man or person was?
I don't know. Because he didn't feel negative, but it felt like he was like showing himself to me on purpose. And I saw him again, but I'm not sure exactly how to go about that. I'm not sure what he wants. If I see him again, I'll probably look more into like the history of that road and see if there have been any accidents there. But I just generally don't know who he is or what he wants currently.
Okay. All right. And how many times when you went to the Bighorn battlefield, how many times did you go there?
Oh, I've been there 2 or 3 times.
And how did you always see something every time you went?
Yeah.
Is it more of like an Indian reservation, or was it like a battlefield like it's named, or?
I don't think it's on a reservation, but it's a battlefield.
Okay.
It was the American cavalry coming in to sort of take over the land around South Dakota and North Dakota and Montana. And they massacred the natives who were living there.
Okay.
It was not good vibes.
Now, when you were telling the story about your Nana's house, what do you think was making the noises in her attic?
My Uncle Ed,
Okay.
he was a pretty bad person. He, stole from people and he used his family to his advantage. He had used my grandfather to get out of jail a couple of times. He was a bad guy, and I don't doubt that it was him just lurking.
Okay. All right. Now, when that one guy went up there to look to see if it was any animals, what do you think he saw before he, dipped out?
I don't know if he saw anything, but I'm sure he felt at the very least that malevolent presence. And if he did see something, it was probably a shadow lurking at the back of the attic. I saw that a couple of times while I was living there.
Okay. Now, could you describe the tall figures you've seen a little bit more detail?
It was just like a shadow figure in my doorway. It was really tall, really, really skinny, like my Uncle Ed was towards the end of his life. He was emaciated almost.
Okay.
So it was just a really thin figure in my doorway. Like I could see where his arms were and where his legs were. And he was just really thin and menacing. That's the only way that I can describe that.
Could you see any color of eyes?
No, he didn't have eyes.
Okay. Let's see. When you and your fiance seen this mental picture in your head of a man hanging in a tree, what was his description fully?
I could see that he was wearing like cargo shorts,
Okay.
the ones with all the pockets in them, and I think he was wearing like a white t-shirt and he was wearing hiking boots.
Okay.
I'm not sure how he got up there or what happened, but I know that it wasn't pleasant. Well, he was hanging from a tree, so obviously it wasn't pleasant, but he felt bad, I guess, but not like he was bad, like the situation was bad.
Yeah. Okay. If you could guess, what era do you think he was from?
Probably the 90s,
Okay.
I would say.
Now, what do you believe when you were hearing something walking where you guys were at, but you knew it wasn't a bear? What did you think it was?
I don't know. I assume spirit a lot of the time if I can't explain something.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's not a bear out in those woods, so what the heck could be making these massive stomping sounds? It's not a deer. Deer don't sound like that. So, I can't think anything except for a spirit or an entity of some sort. We didn't see it. Like, it didn't come lumbering out of the brush at us. It was just like standing out in the background, just moving around.
Okay. All right. Did it sound like it was bipedal or up four?
I would say that it sounded like it was up on two legs, bipedal.
Okay. All right. Now, when your fiance's cards ended up, I guess, back where you guys were at before you got back in the car, what do you think actually happened to those cards?
I don't know, because I know that I saw him put them in the center console so that he wouldn't lose them.
Yeah.
And I just don't know I don't know how they could have gotten out into the woods where we were. Like, unless he decided last minute to grab them out of the car, which I really don't think that he did. Yeah, but I don't really know how that could have happened.
Okay. All right. Well, you've definitely answered all my questions. Before we end this video, would you like to give any closing comments or advice for anybody that's experienced the same type of, experiences or go through anything in the future?
I mean, I believe that I have a sort of gift to interact and see with spirits or entities. And I think that that's why I have had so many experiences. So just if anybody else has experienced this many things, I would say definitely look into it and definitely research what you could be experiencing. Because if you are more in tune with the paranormal side of things, then I believe that you should cultivate that and, grow with that experience. If you know, have the visions of things, I think it's really important to follow that and try and help whoever is reaching out to you, because obviously they're reaching out to you for a reason. But that's just me. I'm a people pleaser sometimes. So
All right. Well, Ember, I appreciate you for coming on, and thank you guys for watching. It's been another episode of Real Supernatural Encounters, and we'll see you guys later. See you later, Ember.
yeah.